Hey guys. So yesterday I did a piece on looking at a channel about Japan's number one Gigolo. And like I said, I was really surprised about the whole idea that these guys go outside of the club to find girls who and to make them think that they want to be their boyfriends, and then get these girls to come back to the clubs to spend money on them at the clubs. And I was saying that it seems to be, in a way, it's like if they're being a pimp, because these girls, the number one pimp in Japan at the time, said that sometimes these girls will get an extra job, or they will try to become self-employed, or they will change jobs, or they might become hosts themselves in order to get the money to pay these hosts at the clubs, the male hosts at the clubs that they go to. So I went looking a little bit more for about this stuff, about these gigolos. And I saw a video about another guy who was Japan's top gigolo. The story that I saw was from 2018, and the other story was about a guy from 2015. And there were two videos about him. Anyway, it was a much shorter video, and it was the same kind of thing. This guy was talking about how many gifts that he'd got from his customers and so on. And he's like, everything in my house is from my clients, my customers, everything. And what happened at the end of that video was that there was a foreigner, I believe a white American, who in about, let's say, maybe 10 seconds, explained everything that the guy in the first video was talking about with respect to these girls, what they have to do to get the money. He flipped the script and explained it in a completely different way that made a lot more sense than what the first guy was saying. And what he was saying is that these organizations, these clubs, they prey on naive girls, and they get them to run up these high amounts of debt, because I guess you can put these things on your credit card, as opposed to, well, maybe not a credit card. The debt then, I guess it might be a credit card. I don't have a lot of debt, so I don't know exactly how this would work. But yeah, they would be owing, I presume, the clubs. And when you owe the clubs this amount of money that you spent at the club, I guess because of these people that you think that you're in love with, what happens is that they would send the girls to a loan shark. And I guess the loan shark would pay off their debts, but now they owe the loan shark. And then the loan shark would encourage these girls, I don't know by what means, to get into the sex industry. For the most part, that was what he was alluding to, this white guy at the end of the other video. And once they got into the sex industry, it normally would be clubs that were in some way affiliated with the male hosts that got the girls to spend all this money in the first place. And basically, this would amount to some sort of sex trafficking. But the guy was saying that you can't prove it, or I guess the government or the authorities couldn't end up proving it, because it was a triangle, is what he's saying. There's the hosts, there are the loan shark, and then there are the clubs or the brothels that the girls end up going to work for. So I guess it is set up, things have been set up in such a way as to make it very difficult for the authorities to make the connections and to shut down this kind of system that they would have going. In which case, it would seem to me that the male hosts they're pimps. They're just pimps. Because this is what pimps do. They go out and they find girls who don't know any better, and they pretend to the girls that, they show them such a great time. But of course, well, wow, now certain things are clicking in my head, because what the guy from 2018 was saying was that when he didn't have any money and he was not making his quotas, basically he could not go and spend money on these girls and make himself seem so attractive and so amazing, because he didn't have anything at first. But once he became honest and he told the girls about his dire straits, initially, of course, like I had said in the other video, his parents had thrown him out of their house, and he was living in a cardboard construction that he made for himself in the park. And after that, that's when he got into the male hosting system. So, of course, now, with respect to the guys who had the resources to make themselves seem amazing, yeah, that's one angle for trapping girls and making them think that they've met Prince Charming. If you can flaunt all this money initially to get them to fall in love with you or to be really attracted to you, and then you tell them, hey, come to the clubs. But another angle is to tell them how badly off that you are and that you need their help. Or you might not even suggest that you need their help, but you would show them that, hey, I'm a nice guy, I like you, but I've really fallen on some hard times, and this is a situation that I'm in. And yeah, some of them would be perfectly willing to help you because of that. And who knows where these girls that initially helped him, where they would have ended up in the end. But, based on the direction that this video is taking, clearly many of them might not have ended up very well. They might be in the host industry at this point. But yeah, the ordinary male host under normal circumstances would pretty much be a pimp who is helping these girls even. You meet a girl in the subway, you meet her wherever, you get her name, her number, her information, you give it back to your organization that you work for, because that's your job, as the host would have said. And then you ask her to come to the club, spend money, rack up debt, then borrow money from a loan shark. And now you have to pay it back by sleeping with people at one of these clubs, or entertaining men at one of these clubs at the very least. And in many instances, you might be pressured into sleeping with some of these men, regardless. And if the male hosts feel bad around their birthdays that they are obligated as part of their job to pressure their clients, the girls that they've made, encouraged to have feelings for them, to buy these expensive bottles of alcohol then I can imagine how badly many of the girls probably feel when they realize what kind of web that they're stuck in. I wonder how many of them realize what the whole system is about eventually, and they see it. But honestly, if we think about it without thinking too hard, you can see that the same thing happens or can potentially happen on the female end as well. Men who go to those clubs can be pressured into racking up debts. Maybe it's a pull pressure, not a push pressure. Maybe the girls are telling them, hey, I need to make up this minimum amount of money, otherwise, bad things will happen to me. I need to have this high amount. But of course, the whole idea of the story, it's you're gonna hear about the male gigolos. There's two stories that I heard of, right? There's the one video from 2018. There's the other video about the guy from 2015. That's amazing. Everybody wants to talk to a guy who can manipulate women, and can potentially sleep with many women and make his living off of pleasing women. But the flip side, I don't think that there's going to be, I might look, but I don't know that there's going to be too many stories about the number one, S word or the number one W word on the woman's side that makes her money off of tricking salary men into thinking that she's in love with them and encouraging them to come and rack up debts at those clubs. So, wow, this is kind of crazy what I was seeing. And it's funny because the interviewer was a woman. So she's interviewing this guy, and I guess they didn't realize the angle or really what this whole thing can be about. I mean, this one guy talking for 10 seconds explaining the reality of the system. This white guy, maybe he's wrong, but it didn't make sense what the first gigolo guy was saying, that they come to support you at this club, and yet they don't see you as a friend. They see you as their boyfriend that they're helping. If they go too far, then you pretend that you don't know, that you weren't really with them, but you're calling them your princess. The foreigner makes a lot more sense than the Japanese gigolo. So it makes much more sense. And it makes much more sense in terms of the wider world. That's how pimps act. So, and I'm just surprised that, can you imagine a news story in America or in the UK about, I think these people clearly are very likely to have some kind of underworld connections. This is probably, and they said it, actually. They said it, yeah, they probably have Yakuza connections or Mafia connections. So can you imagine 2 videos exist about Japanese organized crime, but in such a way as to be, oh, look at this amazing thing. And it's so cool, when it's really not cool. We are looking at the tip of the iceberg of women and men being exploited. And it's not even 2 videos, it's 3. There's the one from Asian Boss, there's another one that I saw, there's at least 2 that I saw about the guy from 2015. This is just crazy, honestly. I don't know what to think. write a comment and tell me if you are just, if mine is as blown as mine is. All right, peace.